theme of this budget. Towards Vision 2035, recovery, transformation, and resilience. It's reflected in the challenges we have faced and the new challenges that we continue to embrace, embracing challenges. Mr. Speaker, Deputy Speaker, the Ministry of Health not only responded to COVID-19. Well, it was the words on almost everybody's tongue. And in most cases, when you saw us in public, or we addressed the public, it was the issue that we were discussing, because it was the issue of the time. But it was most definitely not the only thing that we did. So as I've heard some young kids say, all I'm hearing is COVID, 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 COVID. Well, let me spend some time to say what else we've been doing while all you've been hearing is COVID, 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 COVID. While that was happening, we embarked on a smart healthcare facilities project, strengthening Princess Royal and Hillsborough Health Centre, Central Medical Stores, and the Richmond Home for the Elderly. Now, Mr. Speaker, Hillsborough and Princess Royal in particular. And we hear some people, I heard someone say that what they would do if they became our savior is that they would decentralize healthcare. This was just given words to speak. That has been the mission of every government, every Ministry of Health. Proof is in the pudding, though. In the smarting and the strengthening of Princess Royal and Hillsborough, Carriacou will now have X-ray facilities. You no longer have to come down to the Central General Hospital. That's called decentralizing healthcare. That's making sure that the people of Carriacou can do further diagnosis and be treated in Carriacou. That's shoving healthcare out into the community, no matter how isolated the community is or separated it is from the mainland. That's called decentralizing healthcare. That's part of Central Medical Stores. The strengthening of, the making sure that scarce resources, we will continue to be a developing nation with challenges. And therefore we must value every scarce resource that we have and every dollar that we spend. And therefore Central Medical Stores, the strengthening of, to make sure climate resilient, but as well efficient and effective in its management, more efficient and effective in its management. That has been successfully done and well on the way again to a further expansion during the COVID period. And then the one that my team needs to be extremely proud of is Richmond Home for the Elderly. Mr. Deputy Speaker, do you know that while we were in our darkest moments of COVID-19, many of the residents of the Richmond Home were relocated from that home because we were in the middle of that construction. So they were in less than ideal surroundings. And the team ensured that we didn't lose one of those residents to this deadly disease. Because they were vaccinated. We ensured that while respecting choice. So some out there will say that we don't spend the time to educate and teach people about the vaccines. How come we were able to do it there? Those who have ears to hear will hear. Eyes to see will see. But if when you see us coming, you see something different that you don't want to listen to, there's nothing we can say. Mr. Speaker, those facilities, Smarting also has photovoltaic, renewable energy, and hospitals and stores. These things would not have been possible if we didn't own Grenlec, because we would not have gotten that carte blanche permission to do this from the very Grenlec. We would have had a foreign entity telling us that we cannot make our healthcare system more resilient because it goes against their rules. That's not the case now. Mr. Speaker, we're talking about an expansion of central medical stores. After coming from a previous period with a previous administration of barely being able to fill medical stores, there are still shortages. There are still outs because healthcare is erratic, but we are talking about an expansion of the medical stores here in Grenada. Not just the physical building, but what we have available to our public. Mr. Speaker, the Richmond Home for the Elderly speaks for itself, but it is because of the support around it. So too in almost all of our communities. It's the support. Mr. Speaker, in many, if not all cases, that support comes from, if not entirely, most definitely with the contribution and cooperation of nurses in our community. So we recognize, while some will say we need to do more, yes. We need to do more globally for nursing. Everywhere in the world for nursing. But while we've had COVID, we still continued our nursing program, educating our nurses, and only stopped, like other areas of education, when it was not practical or safe to have individuals in class, in a teaching process that necessitates practical interaction and physical interaction for nursing. So it continues, but the only program that has not started was the midwifery, but nursing assistance training continues. It never really stopped. But the midwifery program did not start this year because of COVID, not an excuse, a reality. In your darkest moment, when you need your health personnel the most, the very same nurses, you cannot at the same time take them out of the system to teach them midwifery. But most definitely, as this House has, and this budget has recognized their contribution, it goes without saying the recognition of their value and their need, necessity for their added value for us to continue that midwifery. And it will start in the first quarter of 2022. So, Mr. Speaker, our nursing program and strengthening of our nursing program continues. And I look forward to us pushing that forward now into accident and emergency training, oncology training, and nephrology training for our nurses, as well as community. But it starts with us making sure that we bring in nursing assistants and that we have the continued success and cooperation with the SGO program, strengthening it wherever we see weaknesses in it, because it's ever evolving. And I look forward to us, right now we do 26 plus nurses per year, training, coming out with a bachelor's degree in nursing. I look forward to us increasing those numbers consistently. Because there is a need, and we have always recognized. But does that need come at the expense of all of the others who need to be educated, who need the assistance, or is there a way that we can share that and move forward? Mr. Speaker, the European Development Fund has worked with us in our COVID response, and they need to be mentioned, and gratitude needs to be given with respect to them assisting us in our primary health care, as well as enhancements in emergency response risk, improvement in chronic non-communicable disease response. Of having hard times because of the shutdown of certain sectors in order to try to find as best as possible that balance between life and livelihoods, that they have been negatively affected. As we say, not knowing where your next meal or paycheck will come from will bring anybody's pressure up. So we need to recognize that. So we have been making sure and focusing that that has to be done, because this COVID will pass. But when it passes, it will leave a legacy, and we need to make sure that the legacy we prepare for. That is, that we deal with it with a strengthened health system. So with respect to the decentralizing and working with EDF, Pedmetar Medical Station, work is completed. Tivoli Medical Station, temporarily relocated to Ahoma Community Center. Hermitage Medical Station, this is for work to be done, and work being done. All during a period where the very same health system and health administrators were dealing with a once-in-a-century pandemic. All during a period where we had the excuse to say, sorry, we couldn't get that done. They got it done. We got it done. All during a period where income was significantly reduced to all of our plans and expectations. But we still got it. We still made the payments, we still issued the contracts, and we still got the job done. And on top of that, we gave 4%, we paid on time, we're going to meet the next 4% in January, and we gave a financial recognition to those who put their lives at risk. Never before done. Never before done in a period never as bad. Let me repeat that, Mr. Deputy Speaker. What has been accomplished financially by this government at this year end has never been done before by any government. And the moment has never been darker financially. Let that sink in for a bit. Mr. Speaker, we still got the elevators changed at the General Hospital. Thank you, Dr. McIntosh. And the delay, valid. We shut the country down and we said people couldn't come in. And so the people who had to come to commission couldn't come. But as soon as it was open, we were ready, able, and we got it done. While still dealing with COVID-19, while still having the hospital inundated and challenged like never before. That very same administration changed out the elevators as well. Just by the way, done, box ticked. And that was $1.5 million, that we found somehow and got it done. And Mr. Speaker, another one that's near and dear to my sister here. Operating theatre and a staff lounge at Princess Alice. While under some of the greatest stress we've ever had to the system, including Princess Alice. They had COVID patients up there too, they were dealing with that. But despite that, this has happened. And it's going to cost us 400,000 EC dollars, and it will happen. It's in. One thing you can see from the implementation rate of the Ministry of Health, thanks to the support from the Ministry of Finance, is that we get the job done. So 2022 will be no exception. We'll get that done. This team behind me and this team up there, we'll get that done. Mr. Speaker, Deputy Speaker, sorry. We continue to make sure that COVID-19 is a true example of that which does not kill us makes us stronger. Your Ministry of Health, healthcare facilities, and health personnel are stronger than they have ever been before, ready to face the next challenge. And truly, I am comfortable and confident in my entire team that we will face the next challenge, no matter how dark, no matter how grave. We will come through. Our desire is to ensure that we do not lose another person. One death is too many. One more is too much. So we will continue to, the team that works tirelessly Monday to Friday, joins me, joins Minister Modest, joins Minister Thomas, joins Minister Bowen, joins all of us when we're out there on the weekends as well, making sure that we try as best as possible to get as many more people as possible vaccinated. That's called service. That's called leadership. That's by no means showmanship. That's why I can say I have a team of dedicated healthcare workers and individuals in my community who support. Because they have a track record. They can say what they've been doing for the past 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and most definitely for the past 3 or 4 months, in one of our darkest moments. Not when the sun starts to shine, come out and say, hey, I'm your new fair weather friend. No. Mr. Speaker, I was hoping that she would be here, but I would still take the opportunity to recognize that in November, the Ministry of Health, vaccination program at the Ministry of Health, which is not just COVID-19 vaccine, received the regional award, first place in surveillance for the rest of our vaccination programs. And I was hoping Ms. Lyons would be here, Sister Lyons, Audrey Lyons, who heads that program, for her to take a bow, but I still think worthy of being mentioned right here in this house. She's one of those that we find fit to give recognition. That's what the Minister of Finance has made sure we're able to do. They have been on the front line, giving almost 7 days a week, that community health team. Since February, March last year. Not now that the sun is shining, they come out. Since February, March last year, they've been giving and giving and giving, and they have not been asking. Which is why every time I come to this house, I give them recognition. And today will be no exception, which is why I'm even prouder giving that recognition today, is because inside the budget that I stand to support is a financial consideration for them and their service. Well deserved. Not just recognized by us, recognized by the region. Mr. Deputy Speaker, do you know, in all of this, the team still managed to do breastfeeding clinics in the communities as well? The very same individuals, huh? They still managed to do breastfeeding programs. Still managed to do primary health care outreach. 42,000 visits to community centers, health community centers, 42,000. Despite a period where certain months they were actually closed because of COVID. That's called community health care. So when somebody comes and they're given a bright speech to say, what I would do is I would do community health care, more outreach. No. What you should do is listen and look and see what's happening. Give recognition where recognition is due. You see, to know how to truly lead, you must know how to follow. Leave that where it is. Mr. Speaker, Deputy Speaker, sorry. Let me speak to the new services to come. General Hospital, cardiology, we've started some. Cardiology to start, to be solidified. Because to date, we've dealt with 876 persons who have accessed this service. 876. 558 echocardiograms and 342 electrocardiograms. You see, the one criticism I will accept, Mr. Speaker, is humility of the team. They don't blow their trumpet enough. Maybe it's time we start. Mr. Speaker, oncology services as well, with the training of nurses, with individuals, you see, because there's a legacy coming out of this as well. The reconnection with our diaspora. And the diaspora reconnecting with us. It's not a one-off. There are certain members of that diaspora that have never lost a connection. Remember, when I say diaspora, that is our Grenadians, trained in most cases, if not all, at our very own SGU, or through scholarships from this government, who have given their time and service to Grenada and have moved on, but still have that connection. And there are some who done it on their own, whose family were able to have the resources for them to receive the education and still gave back. And that I have no issue with, because I am a person like that. I got no scholarship from the government, but I am here. I got no scholarship from the government, but I am here. There are some who got that we can't find. But let's speak about those who recognize their level of patriotism and their ability to contribute. So, Mr. Speaker, is with those. It is with ophthalmology program to increase. It is with gynecology, obs and gynae to increase. It is with our partnership that grows from strength to strength with World Pediatric Program, where not only are we seeing faster and more Grenadians being able to access that service, but we now have, because of a resident doctor that is here, the ability to offer World Pediatric Program surgery and personal hair in Grenada. World class. So that is the strengthening of the system, despite or regardless of COVID-19. That is what has been happening, even though the only thing we've been talking about is COVID-19. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we will continue. This team will continue. That team will continue to serve the people of Grenada as we have, as long as we can, and as long as we're able, and as long as the people of Grenada are willing to have us serve them. That's what we're here to do. There's some who speak about transition. Look around this table. You see a full age group, full cross-section. And there's some who say there's no succession planning here. Those who have eyes will see, and who have ears will hear. There is a difference. And the difference is leadership compared to showmanship. With leadership, you have what you see here. A wide cross-section from different backgrounds, different age group of leadership, taking on the challenges. Not concerned about who's next. Not concerned about what happens in 5 years' time. Preoccupied with what needs to be done now. and getting it done. Whereas showmanship needs to come and tell you, don't worry about how good it is now. Consider what might happen in 5 years' time. No. I'll take leadership over showmanship any day. Because what showmanship has shown in the past is that while I get fooled on what happens in the next 5 years or what might happen in the next 5 years, I suffer between now and then. And everything gets undone. And then leadership has to come back. Leadership is a party that has consistency, that brings young people in, has them in positions of authority, making key decisions, and still has the old guard taking on new challenges as well and doing it as best, if not better, than anybody else. And the only reason we don't want to big up Brother Bowen too much, because we leave it for a political leader to give him those additional kudos that he is one of the best finance ministers we've ever had right now. So what if he's one of the oldest? He's one of the most experienced. That's what you need. So I hear references made to other younger leaders that have left a significant legacy here in Grenada. I hear reference made to Maurice Bishop, that certain people could be, might be, strike similar poses with the young children of Grenada. No. Remember, Mr. Deputy Speaker, Maurice Bishop gave for decades before he became that young leader that led Grenada. He gave. In fact, his family paid an ultimate price even before he became that leader. He was in the battlefield for years before he was chosen by the people and recognized by the people. That's why he was a great leader. Eric Matthew Gary spent decades as well, not just here in Grenada, but throughout the region, being a trade unionist leader, fighting for the people, paying his price, before he became that young leader that led Grenada. Keith Mitchell spent decades as well, giving service, paying that price, before he became that leader. And all of a sudden now, we are supposed to accept that a pretty face and a little bit of showmanship is is only and what we need? No. It's a lot more than that. It's a lot more. We've been through too much. We paid too high a price. Our revolution, Ivan, COVID-19, recessions, external influence, hurricanes, other hurricanes, storms. We've been through too much. I can say for sure that my ability to have been fortunate or unfortunate enough to have led Ministry of Health during this difficult time is because of the time I spent before those dark moments with my colleagues in the Ministry of Health, my colleagues in Cabinet, to earn their trust and confidence, and with the people of Grenada, to earn their trust and confidence, and to respect it, because it didn't come easy. That's what allowed us to make the difficult decisions. Earning it, and when you earn it, you respect it. So, Deputy Speaker, these are indeed interesting times. We've never had this before. We will be judged, and we are being judged. We've had challenges unlike any other, but every other country has had those challenges. And I would say categorically, any leader out there now, Prime Minister, President, King, Emir, General, who has successfully charted the course for his or her country over the last 2 years has earned my respect. And I look forward to seeing what those leaders do, now that COVID is either behind us or that we have grown accustomed to living with COVID-19. And that is the essence of this budget. That is the essence of the recognition to the team here. That is, famous words, hope springs eternal. As we come out of our darkest periods in healthcare, hope springs eternal. And that hope is on the team of healthcare administrators, community service individuals who have taken us through that dark period. That's why we have hope. And that is the true meaning of hope springs eternal. So I look forward to, as far as I'm concerned, in the Ministry of Health and Social Security, the future is bright. This team will accomplish all the challenges that are laid before them. But this team recognizes that there are challenges of education as well. There are challenges dealing with our youth as well. There are challenges of making sure that tourism, that agriculture is also dealt with, because there's an urgency across the board. But if you allow somebody to just talk in isolation of what the team in the Ministry of Health should have accomplished in the last 5 years, just in isolation, you can list a lot of stuff. And the team in education, or for youth, or for tourism, or for infrastructure. But when you put it collectively, some will say, too slow, should have done faster. Too slow, should have done faster, but we survived the worst period, so there was logic, prudence in what we were doing. Wisdom and prudence. That you have had a healthcare system that did not collapse. In a first wave, there was the deadliest of variants. It did not collapse. It was truly tried and tested, but it did not collapse. You have a financial system that has experienced a blow that none other has. Now let's just put something on this budget that is saying it's an election budget. And now leader of the opposition will say that there's no innovation in it. And it's a Christmas budget. Many other countries, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I assume that's my 15? Yes. Many other countries, including the mighty United States, have just announced either budgets or stimulus packages. Those countries literally can print money. Those countries, most first world nations, have given themselves loans of trillions of dollars in order to accomplish those Christmas budgets or those stimulus packages. This country has done it on the wisdom and prudence of past proper management. That is a significant difference, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And still takes into consideration that there is quite possibly some dark days on the horizon. So you still have to hold for possible more rainy days. No pun intended, as it's raining outside. But more of those, yes, may come. We don't wish it, and I want to say categorically, I can say, having said what I've said previously in the House, I do not wish any dark day, but it is prudence, wisdom, and pragmatism that allows us to prepare for and plan for worst-case scenarios. And it is in doing that that we survive them, if, God forbid, they come. And that is what we have done. And that is what my utterances were referring to, and that is what my utterances have proven. To allow us to be resilient. Mr. Speaker, those who plan and plot have had the benefit of the time to plan and plot while we have kept them safe, have the ability to communicate to the nation and the world because they have a better internet system that we have made sure that is there, are able to speak to certain plights of individuals that you haven't gotten X, Y, or Z only because they ignore the A, B, and C that individuals came from, like my sister Emlyn spoke about earlier. That I can speak to within South St. George. That I represent a constituency. Some of the greatest success and wealth in Grenada. And still also individuals who still need that support. Who still need that help up. And who are being helped. So it is a journey. It's not a destination that you just parachute into. It's a journey of making a difference to the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. It's a journey that I've had the honor to be part of. Going on 9 years now. And will continue to give wherever I can and wherever asked. And I'm able to do that, as I wrap up, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I am able to do that because of the grace and blessings of the Almighty. Because I've said before, and I still continue, to whom much is given, much is expected. I'm able to do that because of the support network I have at home. My wife, my kids, my parents. Those who need my support are my greatest supporters. Those who I should be spending the time with, instead of with the nation, are the ones who are supporting me the most. And the community that has put me here, that constantly reminds me that they put me here. And while I've been providing yeoman service, there's still much to be done. And still an expectation from them that it will be done. So there's thine will be done and their will be done. That's why we're here. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I think I've said enough, except to say that it continues to be an honor and a pleasure to serve this country, this government, this honored house, this South St. George, this Ministry of Health, at this time, a time when most others would have ducked, and a time when now some are coming forward and saying that they can do better. Mr. Speaker, thine will be done and their will be done. Thank you.
We'll take a lunch break. We'll take a lunch adjustment. Yeah, 2 o'clock. Yeah. Members, it is now lunch and break, and we will resume at 2 p.m. sharp. Yeah. John, till 2 p.m. Remember to the bow? Yes.